Well, welcome back to New Venture Creation. We just finished talking about operations in Chapter 9. So let's move on to Chapter 10. We're going to be taking a look at marketing. And if you think about it, you could do all the great operations you want and have tremendous products to sell. But if you don't have anybody to sell them to, you're not going to make much money. So this concept of marketing is extremely important. And we're going to be taking a look at 1, 2, 3. I'll flip my pages here. 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, 7 major topics under this chapter. And the first of the major topics is just an introduction. Make sure we're all on the same page, the same starting gate. With regard to the introduction, one of the first things that the author says is that marketing is more than just advertising. Oftentimes we think of advertising as that's marketing. No, marketing and advertising are not the same. Advertising is part of marketing, but for marketing there's a lot of other things too that one has to take a look at. One of the things too that the author also mentions under the introduction is that marketing involves two-way communication. It's not just one way. It's not just them putting an ad on TV and telling you something, where they're communicating to you. But it's two-way communication. You have communication from the company to the market, to its customers, etc. Absolutely. But you also have communication from the market to the company, communication from the customers to the company. That's all part of marketing as well. So let's go to the second major topic out of what I say 7 that we have. And the second one is called the 4 P's of marketing. Again, I love how authors like to pull things together in cutesy little things. Sometimes they're easy to remember. So this author came up with what's called the 4 P's of marketing. You'll see them in Figure 19 of your textbook. These include, the 4 P's are, you have product and price and promotion and place. Product, price, promotion, place, the 4 P's. All these together, by the way, these 4 P's of marketing create what's called the marketing mix. The marketing mix. You're going to mix and match some of these things, so you're going to create a marketing mix. A couple thoughts for you, though, is the first 2 P's on that list, product and price. We covered them before. They were in Chapter 5. We went over what type of product are you making and how are you going to charge for it, etc. So one of the things you might want to do at this point is, as you're studying for marketing, it might not be a bad idea to take a quick look at what we had in Chapter 5, because that's all part of marketing, figuring out what product you're going to have and how you're going to price it. But for today's lecture, as we take a look at Chapter 10, we're going to focus on the last of the 2 P's. We're going to take a look at promotion and price. So let's now go to the third major topic. So far we had an introduction and we talked about the 4 P's. Let's go to a third major topic, and that's going to be promotion. We're just going to focus on that. And under promotion, let's see, I think we have about 4, maybe about 3, 4 major things to mention. The first, the author says that promotion includes all of a firm's efforts regarding, promotion includes all of a firm's efforts regarding, and there's a couple things here that's regarding. All of a firm's efforts regarding advertising, and sales promotion, and personal selling, and also the related public relations that you might have. So promotion includes advertising and sales promotion, personal selling, and everything regarding public relations. Let me tell you an exam warning point for you, something you don't want to trip over for Quiz 2, but you also probably want to make sure you don't trip over it just in life. Notice that when we talk about promotion, we're talking about all those things: advertising, sales, promotion, public selling, public relations. But also notice that there's a part of that that's called sales promotion. So we have 2 promotions, right? We have the promotion that includes all this, and then we have sales promotion, which is part of it. One of the things you want to be careful about is that you recognize the 2. And when someone's talking about promotion, are they talking about all of these things, or are they talking only about sales promotion? So it's one of those things you probably want to make sure you have an idea of what someone's talking about. In fact, if you're talking to somebody about promotion, probably not a bad idea that you let them know. I'm only talking about sales promotion, or no, I'm talking about the entire gamut here about your promotional mix. Still in promotion, another major topic we want to take a look at is advertising, right? We have different types of promotion. Advertising. Now, you know what advertising is. You've seen it on TV, you've seen it on the web, you've seen it in things that you read, and billboards and other things like that. You know what advertising is. The author mentions something about advertising, though, you probably want to keep in mind. The author says that advertising is characterized by, and now the author mentions two things. The first, it's openly sponsored. Kind of a buzz phrase for you, right? Openly sponsored. So what does openly sponsored mean? Well, sponsored means it's paid for by somebody. Openly means everybody knows. So the reason they're saying that advertising is openly sponsored is everybody knows that the company is paying for it. Nike's advertising its shoes. Who's paying for the advertising? Nike. And given that fact, the fact that Nike's paying for it, we know that advertising is paid for by the company behind it. You wonder about the credibility. Are they telling us the truth? Are they spinning things? Are they making things sound too good to be true? So again, it's first characterized by being openly sponsored. And the second thing that it's characterized by is it's impersonal. Generally speaking, you see an ad on TV, you see an ad that on the web or whatever. This isn't made just for you. This isn't just made for one person or one company, one buyer or whatever. It's not focusing on any single entity. It's focusing on a market. It might be focusing on the whole market or part of a market or whatever, the targeted market, etc. But it's impersonal. We don't know if we're sending it to you or not. Now, some advertising is focused a little bit more, right, with all the analytics and stuff that, say Google collects on each of us. They're able to put out advertising that is more related to your interests based on what you've been looking on the web, but it's still impersonal. There's probably another, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that fit that same category that you're going to be in. So again, it's impersonal. So that's what they say under advertising. So under promotion, we looked at and include all the four things, and we talked about advertising. Let's go to the third major point under promotion. It includes, as we mentioned earlier, public relations, excuse me, which most people just refer to by the acronym, by the abbreviation. It's related to PR, public relations. It's PR. A couple thoughts about PR that are mentioned by your author. The first is this is a spread of information to the public. It's a spread of information. Public relations are spreading information to the public. And unlike advertising, this is not sponsored. Usually it's not sponsored at all. Somebody picks it up in the news and runs an article on you or something like that. It's not sponsored. So it's not necessarily controlled by the company that's being the focus of the public relations. For example, let's say that you hold a charitable event. Your new company that you're starting in our class, Company X. This weekend is holding a charitable event, some sort of race or something like that, where you're funding it or whatever. The odds are, if you hold that charitable event, not only are you going to advertise it, but the odds are maybe the local newspaper, a local radio station or TV station is going to pick up on it and go say, hey, listen, make sure you come out to the race and sponsor various people because the money is going to be going to some very good charitable cause, and this whole thing is sponsored by Company X. Well, again, this promotion that you're getting, this public relations that you're getting, this is not paid by you. Some publication has picked up the information that you're doing something for the public that they think the public should know, so they tell the public for you. So the fact that it's not being controlled by you might add to the credibility people will assign to it when they see it. They open up the newspaper, oh, look at this event. Oh, it's sponsored by Company X. Well, because you didn't pay for it, they might think a little bit better about you. This isn't self-serving. You didn't put spin on it. Some third party brought it out and hopefully is telling the truth about it. So what we tend to see is it's viewed as being more objective. It's not, leaning one way or the other. There's less spin. Usually, it's viewed very positively. This type of promotion, again, the whole promotion, the big promotion, etc. This can have a tremendous impact on people. Oh my gosh, look, they're helping to fight cancer. They're helping the local, orphanage or whatever it might be. That could have a tremendous impact on people. And again, it's looked upon as being far more favorable because you didn't necessarily pay for it. You don't have any control over it. Examples of this, of public relations, usually, are press releases. You make a press release. Hopefully somebody will pick it up and run on it. News coverage, articles, again, in newspapers and magazines and maybe various websites or whatever that they pick it up. It includes goodwill and charitable campaigns. Oftentimes you're trying to build goodwill with the community, and as I say, it usually oftentimes has something, you're doing some good deed, usually some sort of charitable organization is being helped. And it oftentimes involves events that you're doing. And the events might be something just as small as a grand opening, etc., or again, might be you're sponsoring something to help some local charity that we have. So that's the second aspect of promotion. We looked at advertising, now sales promotion. The third thing I want to take a look at under this is personal selling. Personal selling. Examples of personal selling. Sales. Presentations that you make. Telephone pitches that you make. Showrooms that you have. Retail spaces. These are examples of personal selling. One of the things I'll mention about personal selling, oftentimes you might see involve some sophisticated digital tactics and applications are being used. Again, we had mentioned this before. Google and Facebook, etc. Do all sorts of things, collect all sorts of information. So if you're going to be doing some personal selling, you might want to contact Google and Facebook. You're going to have to pay for it, of course, but get some information. They might be able to help point you in the right direction with regard to a market that's probably favorable to you, and they'll probably point you in the right direction so far as how to reach that market. So that's personal selling. The next example that we have here, again, of the big P for promotion is sales promotion. Sales promotion. And you've seen this a lot, and it's probably something you can engage in. Sales promotion includes, and the textbook gives you a lot of different examples, coupons and giveaways and sweepstakes, contests that we have, samples and rebates. You might have pop-up shops. It might be merely just putting your name and your company logo on things, like sports teams. You're sponsoring a youth sports team or something. Maybe you're putting it on pens and mugs or whatever. I think about when you go to job fairs. It's not unusual when you go up to the table or whatever, let's say PNC Bank. They have a whole bunch of free PNC pens for you. They might have some mugs or something, that have PNC on it for you that you have. That's what we're talking about, putting your name on these type of things. It can be quite useful. It's interesting. It's not necessarily all expensive. Let me give you an example that I saw that worked out really well. And it goes, again, to these job fairs. There was a job fair that was being held in Pittsburgh for people in technology. And I think they were holding it at or around Carnegie Mellon University. And they're hoping to get people from Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, and Duquesne, and some other colleges there who were tech people. If you're looking for a job, come here. All the various tech companies are going to be here, etc. Well, IBM was there, and it had a table, and there's this big hall that you're in, and there are hundreds of other companies, tech companies, and they had tables too. So IBM wanted to find a way to try to make itself stand out. And what it did is it went out and bought a whole lot of little Frisbees, well, not much bigger than a can cover or whatever you might have. You might those plastic covers that you might get today for dog food that you've opened up a can of or whatever. They got a whole bunch of Frisbees that size, and they printed their name on it. IBM, we're hiring tech people, and on this thing it said something like, we're table 4 in the left corner or something like that. And then they went, as I said, they went out and they had these printed up, and they bought a whole bunch of them. And what they did is, as people came in the door, they gave everybody a free Frisbee as you're walking in the door. They had it, people, here. Well, what do you think a whole bunch of college students are going to do when they have little Frisbees in their hand, and they're in this big hall for a long period of time, oftentimes standing in line at tables or whatever? Do you think they're going to hold on to the Frisbee, or do you think they're going to start flipping Frisbees? And that's what they did. So in this hall, during this career fair, all over everybody are these Frisbees flying, and they all said IBM, were at table 4, whatever a table was, over in the left corner, whatever it was. Certainly a good way to get people to come to your table, to know that you're there. Here they were one of, a zillion people or companies that had tables. Now you know they're there, and you know where they're at, and you know they're hiring, etc. So again, this concept of sales promotion can be quite helpful for you. The last thing that the author talks about, still talking about this concept of promotion, is to get the most out of your promotion and your promotional mix. You should make sure that your mix, whatever you choose under these different things, advertising, person selling, and all this other stuff, this mix, whatever you choose, it has to fit you. It has to fit your company. It has to fit your product. It should fit the customer. I mean, think of little Frisbees, right? College students are having a blast with those things. It should also fit the time and the situation that you're in. So this concept of fit is really important as you try to pick out which am I going to use. Am I going to use advertising? Am I going to use personal selling? Am I going to use 2 of this, 3 of that, or whatever, etc.? You have to come up with the right promotional mix. And the right one is the one that fits. And you should keep in mind, fit changes over time, so you're going to have to be flexible. What worked for you as your promotional mix this year might not work for you as your promotional mix next year, 5 years from now, or whatever. You're going to have to make some sort of changes. You have to be flexible. Now, for your class, you're forming these businesses, etc. Well, one of the things you have to come up with is you have to come up with your promotional mix. What are you going to do? How are you going to get your name out? What type of mix? Now, as you try to figure this out, just some of the things that the textbook was saying, you probably want to have some goals set up. Remember, and the textbook was really, focused on that concept of SMART goals, and that's SMART, all capital letters, S-M-A-R-T. If you forgot what that means, you will probably want to go back early in the notes and find out what's a SMART goal. What does S-M-A-R-T stand for? Another thing, too, as you're picking this mix, you really have to know your target market. You have to know your customer, basically know your audience, etc. Another thing they suggest is that you probably should test it out. Before you commit and buy 5 million of these and do other things like that, test it out. And again, the concept of fit and flexibility were pretty important. And then when it's all said and done, if you can find a way to measure things, how successful was our mix this year or whatever, that's probably pretty good too. So up to this point now, we've talked about the introduction, we talked about the 4 Ps, and we just talked about promotion. Remember, we're going to focus on the last of the 4 Ps, promotion and place. So now, as our 4th major topic, let's talk about place. What does place have to do with promoting your product and bringing this to market? With regard to place, the author mentions that this is related to customer convenience. This is related to customer convenience. It's related to a buzz term called placement. Let me talk about placement in a moment. Think about this. Oftentimes when you buy something, oftentimes when you want to buy something, don't you often try to go and buy something where it's the easiest to get? Oh, it might be something rare and you have to go to Timbuktu to get it, and you got to do 10 different things, and it's really important to you. Yeah, but outside of that, most of our purchases aren't really rare things. Most of our purchases, there's multiple sources where we can get it from. How do we pick sources? Well, we look at things like price and quality, etc. But another thing that we definitely look at is how convenient it is to get it. So one of the things you want to take a look at is place because of customer convenience. Now, I mentioned it's related to this concept called placement. There's another buzzword for you, placement. And with regard to placement, your textbook has 4 things to say. A couple of them, I think, are really bright and stand out. I think they're all right, but I think a couple are really bright and stand out. The first is this involves Where and how your products are being bought. Placement. Where and how are your products being bought? Oh, they're being bought over the web and we're shipping them, etc. Oh, we have a brick and mortar store here. We have several stores here. People have to come get it. Oh, we have a pizza shop. We deliver to you, etc. You know, where and how are your products being bought? This is also related to your channels of distribution. There's a buzz phrase for you, channels of distribution. How are you going to distribute your product? How are you going to get it to people? Are you going to ship it? Are you going to drop it off directly? Do they have to come get it, etc.? How are you going to distribute it? What are your channels of distribution? Is it a direct channel where it's just from you to the customer, or there's 10 other middle people they used to call them middlemen, etc., that are involved in this? What channel of distribution are you going to have? The next thing that they mentioned here with regard to this placement is they say you need to have a placement strategy. Who am I trying to reach? How am I going to reach them? Where am I going to reach them? Where's the best place to reach them, and things of that nature? What's convenient for them? What do they want? And the last thing that they mention here, by the way, I think is pretty cool, and you want to start where your targeted customers are already spending time and money. You want to start where they're already spending time and money, and then perhaps work backwards to figure out, well, where can I be? The reason I say this, oftentimes people, as they're trying to place things, and this particularly if you're going to have a brick and mortar store, but can even be on the web, etc. Where are you going to be on the web? Am I just going to be on eBay? Am I going to be on Amazon? Am I going to be someplace else, etc.? But start where your targeted customers already spend money, and then work backwards to figure out, well, where exactly do I fit? Where can I go? Let me give you a good example of this. It involves a minor league baseball team that was called the Canton Crocodiles. The Canton Crocodiles. Big name, right? How many of you ever heard of the phrase Canton Crocodiles? My guess is probably not a whole lot of you did. Let me show you a quick slide of this, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it. This is Canton Crocodiles, and you saw a picture of their logo, and you saw a picture of the stadium. This involves a town known as Canton, Ohio. If you've ever heard of the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame, that's in Canton, Ohio. It's a town south of Cleveland, a little bit south of Akron, etc., Canton, Ohio. It used to have around 100,000 people. I'm not sure what the population is now. They had an opportunity to attract a minor league baseball team to the area. And it was initially going to be affiliated with the, at the time, what was called the Cleveland Indians, now known as the Cleveland Guardians. So they're looking at places, or where are we going to build this the stadium? We're not just going to have a field where a couple people sit on bleachers. We want to have thousands of people come out to watch the game. Now it might not be a huge stadium, like a professional Major League Baseball team. We might have 60, 100,000 seats or whatever. But if we can have something like 4,000 to 10,000 seats someplace in there, we should have a stadium to fit that. So they're looking for places to put the stadium, and there probably was a really good location in Canton, which was by a major interstate that ran up through, pardon me here, that ran up through Akron and into Cleveland. It was Interstate 77. And there was a huge shopping center with lots of malls and plazas or whatever located right off of Interstate 77. It was called Belden Village. And there's lots of development going on out there. It was definitely a hot spot for the greater Canton area. Everybody shopped, at least on occasion, at Belden Village. And the roads to get there were pretty easy, pretty big, etc., and everybody did that. So they looked at potentially putting the facility there, the stadium there, but it looked like it was too expensive. So I kept looking around, and they found a vacant area that was really inexpensive in the southern part of Canton, where there had been a number of steel mills that had closed down. It was definitely an industrial area, but now it's an industrial area that's pretty much kind of deserted. Not fully, but kind of. And it's not an area that people were going to. I mean, certainly not families going out to shop and eat and other things like that. They weren't headed down there. And it had been a place where steelworkers were going to work, but now a lot of those places are closed. So not a whole lot of people were going to the area. Well, they said, hey, the land is cheap. Let's go ahead and let's build our stadium there. So they built the stadium, and they called it Thurman Munson Stadium, and you saw it on the slide there. Not a bad-looking little stadium for a minor league team, and it was named after someone from Canton who was a professional catcher for the New York Yankees, Thurman Munson, who unfortunately had died a number of years before in a tragic airplane crash. And he was a fan favorite in Canton because he was a real good guy. And prior to his death, had given a lot to help charities and help the community out, etc. And he just was a nice fellow too. That was humble. And a lot of these pro players oftentimes have a certain amount of arrogance or whatever. He didn't. And as I say, he was a fan favorite. He was from the town of Canton. So they called it Thurman Munson Stadium, and they built the stadium. And you can see, as I said, it's not a bad-looking stadium, good name, etc. But they built it where nobody normally went. They built it in this area in South Canton. And eventually that team, the minor league team they had affiliated with the Indians, moved. They moved up to Akron. And the stadium was empty. And one of the reasons they moved up to Akron is they weren't getting much attendance at this stadium. So an independent team, professional team, but an independent team, known as the Canton Crocodiles, said, okay, well, we'll move in. And the Canton Crocodiles had trouble getting literally anybody to show up there. Was it because of a bad facility? No. Was it because of a bad team? No, actually, the Crocodiles were a fairly good team. The big problem was they didn't build it where the customers were already going to. They built it someplace else. So now, in addition to trying to teach everybody, hey, come buy our product, hey, here's our name. In addition to that, they had to try to get people to change their travel patterns. It didn't work. You don't want to do that. So with regard to your placement strategy, again, start where your targeted customers already spend time and money, and then work a little bit backwards. I mean, you might not be able to go exactly in that location, but go someplace close. Find something that works. So that's the fourth major topic. That's this concept of place. Let's go to the fifth major topic, distribution channels and strategy. Distribution channels and strategy. The only thing I'll mention here, this goes to how are you going to get your products to your targeted customers? How are you going to get them to your targeted customers? And this is related, at least in some degree, to your value chain that we talked about in Chapter 9. Part of the value chain towards the end, we made a product sample, pull everything together, you got all our inputs and turn them into outputs. Now we got to get them to our customers. So it's part of your value chain. How are you going to get your products to your targeted customers? Are you sending it? Are they coming in? How are we going to get it to them? The next major topic under this chapter, the sixth major topic, are sales channels. Sales channels, there's a buzz phrase for you, sales channels. There are a number of ways to get your product to people, to your targeted customers, which might be businesses. So how do I get them? Well, there are various channels, they call them, from you to them. And each channel has costs, so you want to pick the right one. And usually you'll find that not all channels fit. You don't want to do a shotgun approach and try to go distribute product through all the different channels. Some of them aren't going to work. For example, with regard to most pizza shops, although they have people coming into the store to buy, and some actually have sit-down seating, but I'm just talking about a smaller pizza shop which really doesn't have any place to sit. Some have people stop by and pick it up on the way home or whatever, but most of their sales goes through a sales channel of sending it out. They send out delivery or whatever. So one of the things you want to do is you want to take a look at what channels, what avenues, if you would, do I have to get my product from me to the customer? What are these avenues? What are the channels? What are the costs? What works? What doesn't work? How are they different? Which ones do my customers like, etc.? Now, related to this concept of sales channels, there basically are two general types of sales channels, One type, and we alluded to this a little bit ago, is direct sales. Direct sales. In this case, it's directly from you to the customer. You to the customer. There's no intermediaries. There's no, they used to call them middlemen, that you send these through. It's just direct from you to them. And you see a lot of internet sales, a lot, not all, go directly from, company X to the customer who purchased it. The other type of sales channel is known as channel sales. Channel sales, also known as an indirect channel. This channel, or channel sales, usually you have third-party intermediaries. Between you and the customer, there's usually some parties there to help out. Sometimes these parties are retailers. Sometimes they're wholesalers. Sometimes they're distributors. Sometimes there's dealers. Sometimes you have just one intermediary. Sometimes you might have two or three or whatever that you want. And one of the things you want to keep in mind is that it's not necessarily a bad thing to use intermediaries, but each intermediary is going to want to take a cut. Each intermediary wants to get paid. And not only are you going to pay them with regard to money, you're probably going to pay them with regard to time. It's probably easier for you to ship it directly to a customer. Let's say with regard to pizza shop. I give it to my delivery person who drives it to the house and drops it off. It's probably quicker and easier doing that than if I had to call Uber and have Uber send somebody over to pick it up and drop it off, etc. There's some extra time involved, probably some extra costs that are involved in that. So one of the things you want to do is, as you figure out what your sales channels are going to be, you also want to figure out how many parties do I want in it. Now, sometimes you need intermediaries. You need people to help move the product along. You need that distributor, etc. Take a look at your normal company that manufactures automobiles. You normally can't buy directly, a Chevrolet from Chevrolet Corporation. You have to go to where? You have to go to a dealer. And the dealer usually spends a ton of money to have that, nice dealership someplace with, 5 million cars parked around, and they do all sorts of service and other things like that. So you might want to go direct, and maybe you can. But maybe also you might find it easier to have an intermediary. So I'm not saying the direct route is always the right route, but as you choose your route, as you choose whether we're doing direct sales or channel sales, as you choose your sales channel, make sure you think about it in advance. And it mentions here it's probably not a bad idea to have some sort of strategy and some sort of plan. The final topic that we have here with regard to this is your author talks about sales cycles. Sales cycles. Some things are very cyclical in sales. We sell a lot at the winter holidays or whatever, and hardly anything else. Or I'm in an ice cream shop. I sell a lot in the summertime, but hardly anything else. There tend to be some cycles. And your author talks about two issues that you probably want to look at. One, your author talks about some key traits about the cycles. The goal orientation. You want to be focused on your customer. You want to find that things are predictable and repeatable, and that it's buyer centric, and there's a responsiveness to change. Things happen all the time. Can we change it? So there's some key traits you want to take a look at with regard to cycles. And the last thing that your author talks about under sales cycles are traditional sales cycles. Traditional sales cycles, which you'll find in Figure 23. Figure 23. Let me pop that up for you here. I have a slide for that. Let me pop it up. looking at that slide, basically your author is saying in a traditional sales cycle, this is what you generally do. And there are 7 steps. There's preparation. Never a bad idea to prepare, to think in advance, to plan, etc. And then you have lead prospecting. You know, someone's out there, trying to prospect and find gold, trying to find customers, etc. The lead prospecting. You also have what's called need qualification. Need qualification. Do you have customers who really need your product? What type of needs do they have? How can we fit their needs and suit their needs? Then you have the sales presentation. Okay, if I've done some lead prospecting, I found somebody who really needs this thing, so now I got to make a presentation. I got to tell the customer about our company. I got to tell the customer about our product and how our product solves that customer's needs, etc. How the way we solve it is different than others, and ours is better, etc. Another part of this, the steps in the sales cycle, oftentimes, even if you have the greatest product and the greatest sales pitch, you still have objections. Customers are concerned about price or win and color and size and all sorts of things like that. So you have to be ready to have objection handling, get ready to handle those objections. Assuming now we passed all that, your customer is still kind of interested. Now you've got the next step is closing the sale. Closing is not easy. I know a lot of people who are good at initially proposing something, pitching something, but they can close the deal if I don't know, the blue skies opened up above and heaven shone light on them or whatever it might be. Closing is difficult. There are some people though who just have a natural talent. It's one thing to say, hey, buy this. It's another to say, give me the money. And that's difficult to do. But there's some people who are really good, say, give me money. And the people are just handing them money over hand over fist. So you have the closing. And then the last step, which sadly so many businesses forget about, is follow-up. Follow-up. First off, you should follow up with your customer. Hey, how'd you like it? What can we do better, etc. Also, you should probably just review the whole process, what worked, what didn't work, and make some changes that you have. Well, that pretty much finishes what I wanted to talk about in this chapter on marketing, etc. If you have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to let me know. Shoot me an email or whatever. But hopefully you picked up some things here. Hopefully you enjoyed the lecture. Hopefully you found something that's useful that can help you out. But indeed, if you do have any questions, let me know. Hope you have a great day coming up. I'll see you folks later. Bye-bye, everybody.